Spaniel. Here is the one article written by Joseph McGowan in the new magazine, which is called The Third Temple. It's the June edition of the Divine Justice magazine. So here is the audio version of that article. Well, it goes like this, quote, "From fables like the boy who cried wolf to the man who shouted help, a lion is attacking my sheep. Most of us from the east to the west grew up hearing the negative consequences of lion. We were also warned in scriptures such as Leviticus 19:11, do not lie, do not deceive one another, but in the end times lies, falsehood, and deception would rule the day." Today, the internet has become one of the weapons and tools for the father of lies, distorting the truth and twisting religion. Fake news has left the world confused, not knowing who or what to trust. I'm sure you have found yourself at times scrolling through TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, or other social media platforms, wondering if an intriguing, shocking video or a headline you had come across was true or not. Perhaps you shared it with friends or family or on your social platforms only to leave you embarrassed when you found out hours or days later that it was fake news or doctored by an AI. Even while you're reading this now, you might be wondering if these are really my words or the work of ChatGPT or another AI app. Who can tell these days? If we were to define fake news, it is quite simply refers to disinformation or misinformation presented as news, where falsehood is presented as truth by so-called reliable sources. The intention is simple: to deceive and mislead the readers to believe any agenda set forth by creator of the lie. This could come in the form of fabricated stories, unethical articles, or reports that have no basis in fact. Clickbait or misleading headlines meant to sensationalize or exaggerate the content of an article or video is common practice in today's culture. Content creators also manipulate content, alter genuine news articles, and deliberately take words out of context to misrepresent the truth. Satire or parody has seen an upgrade using the latest AI tools to create memes or alter images and videos to defame or shame individuals. People also exaggerate natural disasters using AI software. I'm sure many of you at some point have stumbled upon some AI-doctored UFO sighting or celestial phenomena, shocking at first until your friend nudges you and says, "Come on, that's a fake video." Just as time speeds up, in the time of the Mahdi, fake news also spreads rapidly, especially on social media. Spreading misinformation today can have significant consequences on public opinion, shaping political and religious discourse, undermining trust in legitimate news sources, and ultimately the trust of everyone who posts content online. After all, in today's world, everyone can be an influencer, expert, or journalist on the internet. And what's even more alarming, the lies and the AI software are getting more advanced by the day, and it is increasingly more difficult to distinguish truth from falsehood. Although the internet is the worst when it comes to fake news, it did help expose another threat to truth: the mainstream media. Mainstream networks claim to strive for accuracy and journalistic integrity, and in the past, the general public would always take their word as a gold standard. But there have been many examples where outlets have been highly criticized, even condemned, for propagating misinformation or fake news. Whether it be human error, deliberate lying, the falsifying of information, misinterpretations, or sensationalism, the consequences are the same for the parties on the receiving end. Every network is looking for the next big breaking news story, looking for the next piece that will generate the most views or turn the most eyeballs and give an edge over their competitors. Networks such as CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, the New York Times, and The Guardian, among so many others in this new gladiator arena, have all been called out on a number of these examples above and have faced a great deal of backlash from the public. A prime and devastating example is the New York Times coverage in the lead-up to the Iraq War, where it published a series of now infamous stories claiming Saddam Hussein possessed weapons of mass destruction, These reports, which leaned heavily on dubious intelligence and unreliable sources, helped build the public case for a war that would later be deemed unjustified. Years later, the Times publicly admitted to major editorial failures and lack of proper scrutiny, but by then the damage, hundreds of thousands of lives lost and a region destabilized has already been done. It remains one of the most consequential media failures of the 21st century. Teflon Don and the new era of the fake news. Well, politicians and religious leaders are no strangers to fake news. They're not. Prominent figures in the world, such as Donald Trump, have mitigated carefully through the barrage of bullets being fired at him to the point that he was dubbed by his support base as Teflon Don, meaning he is bulletproof when fake news is fired at him. Capitalizing on the growing frustration and disillusionment that many Americans have been feeling towards the fake news online and especially in the mainstream media, the general public have come to know the mainstream news network as biased and untrustworthy. No one in our recent times has dismissed accusation publicly as fake news more than Donald Trump. And this has resonated with Trump supporters spearheading his rise to power. In Trump's first campaign during the 2016 presidential elections, he often referred to mainstream media as fake news, a phrase that not only resonated with his followers but with many around the world. Trump's rise to prominence can be attributed in part to his ability to harness social media platforms, to bypass traditional news outlets and fire back at any opposition, calling out many accusations as fake news. Political experts took note on how Donald Trump handled the onslaught of attacks, and he campaigned a lot in the final days of the most recent elections on well-known podcasts online. Instead of mainstream outlets which generated hundreds of millions of more viewers than traditional mainstream channels before, this catapulted Trump into a seemingly impossible second term, after being found guilty of a staggering 34 felony counts. The Trump support base doesn't care anymore about what the media has to say and often rally around this notion that the Don is a victim of fake news, a narrative that has only boosted his popularity among those who feel marginalized by the establishment. Now, even when a truthful testimony is given, it is simply dismissed as fake news. In this age of deception, it doesn't matter if you are political, religious, or just trying to stay up to date what's going on in the world. It's important to highlight any hypocrisy coming from all sides who have been victims of fake news. Whenever a piece of news comes out, it's fake news, but when they propagate a piece of news against their exposition, it's expected to be believed as true. Lies are being thrown around from all sides, and many political and religious leaders are victims of it. No one is spared, and we need to be vigilant and do more due diligence before reporting on matters that are unverified or come from suspicious sources. The power of fake news, a historical perspective. While Donald Trump popularized the term fake news, today the concept has been long used as a geopolitical weapon. Throughout history, fake news has played a significant role in shaping narratives during critical world issues, like the World War, Nazi Germany, and during apartheid in the United States. During the Cold War, which spanned from the 1940s to the early 1990s, both the US and the Soviet Union engaged in extensive propaganda campaigns. In America, the Red Scare fueled fears of communist infiltration, while incidents like the Gulf of Tonkin were later revealed to be exaggerated, leading to increased military involvement in Vietnam. The Cuban Missile Crisis saw the US government selectively releasing information to rally public support against the Soviets. Meanwhile, the Soviets spread disinformation to undermine Western motives, funding peace movements to present themselves as champions of peace. In Nazi Germany, propaganda was a key tool for manipulating public opinion. The Nazis used events like the Reichstag fire, which they falsely blamed on communists, to justify civil liberties of suspensions. They promoted the step in the back myth, falsely accusing Jews of betraying Germany in World War I, and framed their euthanasia program as a mercy killing for the disabled. The staged Gleiwitz incident was another tactic used to justify the invasion of Poland. Fake news is also a favorite tool of fundamentalists and ideologues individuals, those with a rigid, narrow worldview who feel threatened by white it's different. Those actors often operate with a specific agenda, whether religious, political, or ideological, and they spread false narratives not simply to mislead, but to fortify their own base by sowing fear, division, and distrust of the other. More recently, during apartheid in the US, misinformation was used to justify racial segregation and discrimination against black Americans. This included exaggerating crime rates among black individuals and perpetuating the black rapist myth to incite fear. Civil rights activists were misrepresented as extremists, and false claims about school integration chaos were spread to maintain racial hierarchies. These narratives reinforced system racism and obstructed progress toward equality. Allahumma salam Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, Allah ima al Megdin wa salam taslima. So this was the first part of the article, so stay tuned and inshallah tune in to the second part of the article. See you soon, bye.